Hi, I'm Allison, and I'm with my colleague Mary, and today we're going to show you a couple dozen different mediums and how to use them, and surface preparation as well. We're going to start with a canvas, just a plain one like you'd get in a store. And it's white, as you can see, but it's not natural canvas. This is the natural cotton of the canvas. And over here, it's going to be the nice white. Now, most people think that this is the canvas, and that's how it comes, but like you see, it has 2 coats of gesso already on it. So gesso comes like this, usually in a pot. You have tubes and different types of companies who make them. Gesso used to be made with things like gypsum and calcium, but now it's mostly made with pigment and polymer emulsion, like acrylic paint. You have other options like black gesso, and this is great if you want, bright colors to stand out. So I'm going to show you that here. So you have a white gesso like this, and this one is Venetian red, and you can see that it's quite a lot darker if you're doing a lot of pale work on top of it. This one here is the Demco gold gesso, and it's really nice. I found it thin, and I had to do 2 coats to get the result that I wanted. But I think it's quite nice and metallic, and would do good with maybe some dark detailing or light detailing. So this one here, you can see, again, the black and white gesso, and you can see what the effect of gold is on top of both. And that's pretty interesting. This top one is with 1 coat, so you can see that you have like some of the effect underneath. And this one is, 2 coats, so that it's very opaque. This here is a wood panel, and this is a great product that I like to use for all sorts of mediums. I usually work in watercolor, so what I would use on top of a canvas is something like absorbent ground. You have white and you have black. And what these do, they basically act like a gesso, but they're going to be more porous, and they're really going to suck up the watercolor since there's more water in it than in acrylic paint. So on this canvas here, this is a wood panel, and here it's the natural wood, and on this side this is the transparent gesso. Now it's different from this because this is very opaque and white, but this one here is transparent, as the title says, and you can see actually the wood grain underneath it, and it can be really surprising what kind of nice effects you can have with the wood grain. I like that a lot, it's really pretty. Here we have this white opaque kind of pasty type of a gel, and this is fiber paste, and it's white and porous, and I think it would be really successful to use a watered down acrylic or watercolor on top. If you go over here and see this canvas, it's very textured, and what I've done is I've made a layer of the medium here and made different texture, with a knife, and then I've put watercolor on top, and so because it's so porous, the water just goes right in, and you can see how you can have some really interesting textures. So the pigment will pool in different places according to how you've placed your texture. So if you look at an area like this where there's a bit of dark, it kind of goes into the cracks more over here. So that can be interesting depending on what you want to do. There's another paste that I have here, and it's called flexible modeling paste. And it's pretty creamy and nice to work with. When it dries, it's going to be kind of like, this blue sticky poster stuff. And it's kind of flexible like that. So if you are working not on a canvas, but on another surface that might be more round, it would be better because it's flexible. Over on this canvas here, this is a new medium, and I wanted to try it. I like it quite well. It's called Pearl Mica Flake, and you can see at the front of the pot, you have an example of what the product is, and if you look at this canvas, it's pretty accurate. Depending on how heavy you put it on, you can get some opaque areas that are kind of have their own texture, and you have some thinner areas where you can see the underneath. So because the binder of this pigment is very glossy, you can see that there's kind of a shine on it too. Now this here is ceramic stucco. This is the one on this square. And this is great because, as with my canvas over there, you can really put some watercolor on top of that and make that nice pooling kind of mountainous effect like that. This is another version, but it's coarser, and you can kind of see that there's small rocks in it. So, different companies make different ones. It would behoove you to check the one out that you like, and then, do tests and try things out. And that one's a lot of fun too. I believe that for this one, I used the bottom one. So if you can look over here, yes, you'll see that there's a few dark stones here, so that's not all pigment. So your base always reflects what the finished product is going to be. Okay, so now these ones are a little bit different because I've primed the canvases in black. This is the gold flake again on the black surface, so it just shows you the mica flakes here, and then underneath how you can see the canvas through. So if you wanted to make it, even more space between the pieces of glitter, you could add like a transparent gel like this one to it, and so there will be fewer little sparkles, depending on what you want to do. This one here is by TriArt. It's a Nepheline gel, which is this one here. This is a new medium, and I've just tried it, and I really like it. There's a lot of different colored rocks in it. So you have little black bits, little red bits, little kind of bluish white. So it really is rocky, and I imagine that if you were to paint on top of it, it would be really interesting as long as you used a transparent acrylic as opposed to an opaque one. And I like the effect just natural the way it is. But you have to keep in mind that it's not going to be white like a paste like this one. It's always going to have that stone color. This square at the bottom is really interesting. This one is, my gosh, I've gotten pink all over my pot. It's golden tar gel. And what it is it's like a glossy gel that's quite thick. And so you probably want to work flat with this one. And so you'd scoop some of the product out, and then by just holding the knife above and swirling it and make different patterns, like it kind of drips that way in kind of little lines like that. So that one's neat too. I mean, you have the matte background here, and then you have like the glossy gel swirls. So that's fun for doing textures. You can also mix a pigment with this, like a paint, an acrylic paint, and then you can have all these little lines, but in a color. So you can choose. Okay, this canvas here, this is just a plain black gesso. On this side, you have a thin application of a matte gel. One of the things that's tricky about matte gels is you don't want to overwork them. When this coat is done with a knife, kind of with the downward stroke, but you'll see that any type of matte medium, anything that's matte, is kind of hazy. You'll see like a bit of a milkiness to it. This is a really, really thick layer of matte medium, so you can see that it's, quite whitish, and it has a few bubbles in it. But that's if you, put it on really, really thick, and we did it on purpose to show you what the effect would be like. So these are the three mediums here. Next, this is really interesting. I really like crackle mediums because I really like the texture. This one down here is the golden crackle paste. And this one is good because you can apply it if your canvas is leaning upwards. So if I have my canvas like this, all I have to do is scoop my product and just, kind of place it on and then get it as smooth as I want. And then I let it dry and it crackles automatically, which is great. This crackle medium is a bit different. It comes in a tube, and it also comes in a bigger size in a pot. And it's a bit more liquidy, actually quite a bit more liquidy, so that you would be best to work flat. As you can see on my canvas here, it has, dripped down a little bit, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't look bad or anything, but you just notice that you have to be careful not to get it all in the underneath of the canvas, because then it sticks to everything. For this one, it's transparent. So what I've done to just show how it looks is I've put a thin layer of white paint on top, which you could do. You could do another color. You could do black. And what's interesting about the crackle is that you want to, maybe get a different color underneath. For the purposes of this video, I've showed you white on white, but underneath with black, it looks really good. For example, this is the same one at the top here and on a black. And you can see how the black really, really shows through. And I've put, again, white on top to show the difference. Going back to this one, up here is a medium. And it's this one here. It's white opaque flakes. And that one is kind of, I guess it's kind of like little plastic flakes mixed in with your polymer. And so it's going to be opaque. And it's very glossy. So when you make your texture on here, you're going to see the different texture flakes. And again, you can mix that with any color you want and just go to town with the pigments. This one down at the bottom here is natural sand. And this one is very glossy, as you can see, but it's also transparent. So depending on how smooth you place it or how much texture you put, it's kind of like I guess it's kind of like a pumice stone. It feels like a stone, but it's actually quite glossy and not porous like the crackle is over here. So over here, I've shown you this square. This here is glossy black medium, and it's called Black Lava. And if you can look at it through the pot, it looks sort of kind of milky and a little bit white, but when it dries, it's actually very black. And I guess what it is little pieces of glitter. And it doesn't shine. It's very, very opaque, but you can get some really nice deep texture in it. And how glossy it is over here and in the corners, you can actually see how well it shines. Down here at the bottom, you have some iridescent medium. And it's just kind of like a little sparkle that you can add. Here it's just the white, but you can add it to your colors to make shiny pinks, shiny greens, and just make different effects that way. This here is that absorbent ground I was talking to you about before for watercolor. And here there's some iridescent watercolor applied with a sponge here and, little speckles over here. So you can actually mix this with any color that you want and just kind of sponge it on in different effects. So the last guy I have for you right here is Gloss Super Heavy Gel. And this is applied mixed with your paint. So you take the black paint and you mix it with your medium, but you don't quite go all the way, you don't quite mix it fully, and then you can get these nice streaky, wavy effects when you put it on with your knife. This is just the gel applied on top of black gesso, and this one here at the bottom is the medium painted with black on top. And this one is a matte black, and you can see the difference between something that is going to be matte and something that is going to be glossy. So at the same time as on this one here, I put the stone medium on. This one is similar, except instead of just leaving it as a stone medium, I actually put a gloss on it. So you can see that the gloss kind of filled in the cracks of this one a little bit more, and you kind of have that luster as well. And that can be interesting depending on what you're doing and what kind of effect you want. Hi again. I'm going to demystify things for you. Because there's a lot of pastes and a lot of mediums and it's all very confusing, there's an analogy that might help you. For something that is a paste, it's going to be a lot like this toothpaste. This is toothpaste. And it's kind of sticky and it will stick to most surfaces. When you're talking about something like a soft gel, it's going to be like ketchup. It's going to be a bit runny, it's going to be a bit drippy, and you're going to be able to apply it either standing up or flat. This one here, this mustard, this is going to be like a medium gel. Like it's, you can still see it a bit drippy, but it kind of holds up on its own. For a heavy gel, I would think that would be closest to something like mayonnaise, where it's really stuck on there, and you can't really get it off easily. Next, extra heavy gel, which is this nice peanut butter right here. And it's kind of nice and sticky and gluey, and you have a hard time getting it off your palette knife. So now we're going to talk about applications. There's a lot of different types of palette knives and little tools that you can use to apply the pastes. So I'm going to show you something. So we have a fiber paste here. And I'll scoop it out, and like I said, it's kind of like that toothpaste. It's opaque, it's white. It will dry that way. And you can apply it straight down and try and get a flat surface. Just like that. You can also go thicker and make kind of little mountains, like that. You can have different effects, like if you have like, you want lines going across. But in that case, it's almost better to use something that has little kind of teeth on it. Or for example, something like this. So if you wanted to use this catalyst, you could put it on there and apply it like that. And you can see that you really get some deep gouges in there. And once that dries, your paint will kind of rest nicely in those little crevices. And that can be interesting depending on what you want to do. However, if you want to do something a bit more flat, you could use something like this. And you can actually try and get it as even as possible. And as a fiber paste, it's never going to be exactly flat or straight, and you will get little striations, but generally you could get it pretty flat. You can also apply a lot of these mediums that are liquidy in bottles like this. There's lots of different kinds available. This one has a fairly fine point. You can, cut the tip to make larger lines of things for different effects. You can also use sponges. When you're doing something like this, you're bound to get a flatter look. So if I go back over this with a sponge, and I'm kind of twisting the sponge a little bit, like this, you can get kind of more of a stucco effect, and it looks more textured and brushed. Now I'm going to do kind of a few of the same things with this gel. And this one is going to dry clear. But right now, it looks quite milky and opaque. But you can see that's actually a smoother medium, like that. And it's a bit glossy in application, like that. But if you want to work heavy with it, you can have kind of some neat kind of globs going on, and just you kind of smooth them out as you go along. You kind of get these nice little knife marks. But if you don't want to go that way, you could get something, that has little, like a comb, and you could go like this through it, and you get these neat little lines. Okay, now I'm going to talk to you about a really neat medium. It's called Liquitex pouring medium, and I'm going to show you how to use it. It comes in a bottle with kind of a little squirt top, and so I have this canvas here. It's quite dark, and it has some mediums already on it. So what you're going to do is you're going to pour a box around the canvas like that. And then you're going to just go to town in the middle of it, squirt all this paint. So you're going to see that it's actually quite bright and kind of bluish white, but it will dry absolutely clear. I think that's enough. Now I'm going to take this little tool here, and I'm going to kind of manipulate the gel towards the edges of the canvas, just so that it meets the end. And just keep on doing that all the way around. And it's easy to do. It'll sort of pool towards the edge, like that. And then the inside, I'm just going to smooth it across. And it's self-leveling. So, you see it kind of makes a pool, and if I brush it, it kind of swoops back to cover the area. Now, unfortunately, this stuff takes a few hours to dry, so it'd be better to do it and then be able to leave it overnight somewhere where stuff won't get stuck to it. In my case, it would be pet hair that would get stuck to it, but there could be dust or other things, so you want to make sure that it's in an area where nothing will walk across it or it won't fall off a table somewhere. And it's quite liquid, so you might find that it does drip off. You could keep a rag handy, which is always good to do. And there you have it. So it's going to smooth itself out mostly, but if you want to just kind of make sure that it looks as even as possible, that's good. And then now you just let it dry, and that's it. So a lot of people use this product as a varnish. And varnishes are great for protecting your work after you've done them. In this case here, it's left without any varnish on top. This one here has a bit of shine on it, and this is actually gloss medium that I've put on top. And that one's really great because it has this nice shiny, waxy kind of look on top of it. Now, this pouring medium is great because it's very, very similar to a resin. And resins are really good for making a hard surface that looks like water or glass. The only problem with it is it's hard sometimes for people to use it who don't have proper ventilation. If your studio, some studios don't allow chemical products, so it's kind of something that's toxic. So you need to wear a mask. It's always a good idea to. And it does take a while to set, just as this one does. Although this one is kind of a polymer version of the resin, but it has a very similar effect. Gloss medium and varnish. This one here is what's on this canvas. So it's kind of glossy, but because my pumice medium is very kind of a thirsty, porous medium, it's not as glossy as something that's just acrylic paint would be. So you're really going to get that nice shine. Something like this is a matte medium, and that's going to do the opposite of the gloss. It's going to tone everything down. It's a little bit milky. It's going to make everything, matte and not reflecting light. If you look at the side of this canvas here, this black, this is matte. So that's going to be the difference. You're not going to have that kind of wet look. Again, another varnish. The difference between the gloss varnish and the gloss medium in varnish is that this medium is thicker, and you're going to be able to mix that with paint as well. And this one is uniquely for the top coat. Then you have cans of spray. Now, lots of companies make these cans, different types of glaze for different reasons, for different surfaces. So be careful to read your labels when you're using these, because there are some for pastel, there's some for watercolor, for acrylic, for oil, and multi-purpose ones. So look out for that. And again, lots of different companies make gloss and mediums and matte mediums like this. So you'll get a lot of different formats. They come in jugs, tubes, all sorts of stuff. And then here, lastly, I have a little pot of pigment. Now, when you're in an art store, you'll often see different dry pigments. And what you can do with these is really interesting. Let's say I wanted to use this kind of coppery metallic pigment. I can mix it with my pouring medium. I can mix it with my matte, my glossy, whatever I want to mix it with that's polymer and no pigment in it, and I can mix it together with that and actually make a paint and then apply that to something like this, like a work of art, and then varnish it over again. I know it's all very overwhelming, all the new products that are in the stores when you go to buy your acrylic mediums, but this company, Golden, makes this little trial pack, and it's really small pots, really tiny quantities of the product to try, to sample, to test it out. And these are great for beginners if you want to just have a go at all these new mediums. We're in a modern art era, and there's so many different things to be done, and there's so much inspiration, and there's so many products. It never ends. And we hope that this video helped you on your road to learning more about acrylic mediums. And we have many mediums in the stores, acrylic and oil, and for watercolor. So come and see us. We'll be happy to help you. And thank you for watching.